Good morning. This is Ian Nethercott with the Auto Hub Show. And I'm going to start this a little different today. And the reason is I think we should start with our guest first. We can do the sponsors in a couple of minutes. Since they took the time to come on, I really appreciate that. But more importantly, all the people that registered to listen probably want to hear from them, not from our sponsors right out of the gate. Unfortunately, we do have to have sponsors to power the show. But it's all about our guests. So we have Andy. I'm going to mispronounce your last name. Baldassarre. Am I right?
Yeah, Andy Baldassarre.
Okay, I'm correct. And I've got Karen. I don't have her last name, but I've had Karen on before. So I'm very familiar with Karen. Karen Dillon. And then we have Peter. So maybe you can all, both of you just give us a quick synopsis of you before I play some sponsor stuff. Karen, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you do and why do you think menus are important in 2026?
Well, today I have a company called Profit Keeper Pro, and we work very directly with service and parts to assist the dealership in retaining fixed ops profits. Why I think menus are important in the service drive is selling on the service drive is not really traditional selling. It's really about building trust and creating value, and menus will help them do that. Service drive is very busy, especially in the morning. So if the advisor, if they can provide consistency too, and that's the other thing that menus helps the dealership do. But if the advisors can be prepared after they find out what the customer is in for, and then always present it, and there's different ways to do it. Perhaps it's, as Toyota, GM, Ford, whatever, requires specific maintenance to keep the factory warranty in effect, as well as to provide carefree driving for you. And for your vehicle, at this mileage, it's whatever. And I think it's more professional and consistent. And I think it removes the suspicion that prices are just being made up on the spot.
That's the thing, eh? I have a quick story. Years ago, I had a Fiat 500. Not that I recommend that car to anybody, so please don't take it as a recommendation. It was clearly not a great car.
You had a what?
Fiat 500 from Stellantis. It was a commuter car. So I literally went into the service department, and they had all the different services listed with no pricing. And I'm like, so what does that mean? Does that mean you make it up? Like, how can you have that? Like, it's crazy. Thanks for that. Andy, introduce yourself and what you do and what do you think about menus?
Sure. Andy Baldassarre, Director of Marketing and Training for BG Products. So Ian, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, no worries.
Peter, excited to be here. So I'm over marketing and training with BG Products. So right now I even got the BG University shirt on because we're having class today, actually going through the service drive experience. And a big part of that is menu presentation. And, I love the way you started the show. You started the show with the value to the people who are watching this show. Sponsors are important and we need good partners, but very much the same way with the service drive experience. It's, what are we doing to make sure they have a good, consistent experience on the drive? Because as Karen just said, you come in one day and they offer you nothing, and then you come in the next time and they offer you like your car is completely obliterated and you need to spend $3,000, and so you don't know if somebody's taking advantage of you or not. So something we teach a lot is the consistency of that service drive experience is going to start to build familiarity with what they should expect when they come in. People that are familiar with the experience they're going to get are going to start to trust the organization. If they see a menu and the menu is consistently presented, and it has a step of, what you need when, even letting you're not due for this now, this is going to come up in the next 6 months or year, then you're a professional. Then you are actually advising the customer. And that's something we could talk about is, what are we doing to be that professional advisor versus an order taker, or just somebody who's just trying to make money and just whatever I can sell them. So we always find that familiarity brings trust. And if you have trust, now they're going to be open to whatever the recommendations are. And so menus are absolutely critical to create that consistent experience to where the customer is going to trust the dealership. And that's what this business and every business is all about, right? Is how do we help the customer trust the organization and the people working within the organization? So menus are absolutely critical. And it's not something unfamiliar. Everywhere we go, there's a menu served to us. Why would the service department be any different?
Yeah, imagine a McDonald's said, "Yeah, what would you like? We don't have a menu, but what are you thinking today? What are you thinking we can make happen?"
Or of our offering, but there's no pricing on it.
Yeah, like literally, I'm not kidding. There was no pricing, like absolutely none. And then I had a coupon from Stellantis for like, I don't know, $5 off an oil change. They weren't even sure they could figure out how to use the coupon. I'm like, you guys own a car dealership, like. Yeah, not looking too good here, man. You probably should figure it out. Mr. Larry Feldman, you're muted, but tell us a little bit about you after you unmute and what you think on menus.
Sure. I'm a former dealer. Now, last 14 years, I've owned Career Changers USA. We find every position you could possibly imagine at a dealership, from service, body shop, parts, sales. And I do a training, which you're well familiar with, Ian, because you looked at your watch and said had to keep their darn attention for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Menus are essential. And I heard a little bit of what Karen said, a little bit what Andy said. I was just getting off a plane. But I think you'll both agree the bad news is how horrible most service departments are. And the great news is how easy it would be for them to improve.
Absolutely.
Karen and Andy, how damn tired are you with telling people you need to do a walk around on every vehicle? Not on Tuesdays, not when you're in the mood, automatic like breathing. And at this point, you still have texts that aren't using video, which says, hey, this is what it is. You don't have to fix it, but look at this. Greetings. I mean, we're still getting people all over the United States. You walk in and the first thing is, do you have an appointment? I just figured you might want to take my money. So, the bad news is it's not good. And that's why after warranty, we lose 70% of the business. Good news is it's easy to fix. I love menus. You said it beautifully, Ian. You don't go into a place and they say, well, what do you want? You figure it out. But it's really, I think, Karen, I think you'll agree with me, even more than a menu, it's an attitude. If you get up in the morning and you can't wait to see your damn customers, they're going to see it. And if it's an eye roll or it's like you're doing them a favor, you're lost. Agree, Karen?
Absolutely. And that's where like I said, the most important thing is to create value and build trust early with the customer. When you greet them, smile, welcome them, pretend you're happy.
Karen, you're getting radical with this smile and be nice stuff. This will never work. I say the same thing with salespeople. If you make it clear from the jump that you're not happy to see them or that they're bothering you, then that's the impression they get. You're 100% right.
Peter, I mean, I know menus aren't important in the restaurant business or in the car business, but what's your opinion on menus?
Well, I'm excited that Andy and Karen are here. Both of them, I've known them for a long time, and they are definitely a wealth of great knowledge. And the thing Larry was talking about too is interesting was menus are so critical, but one of the benefits that menus have, in my opinion, after working with a lot of dealers the last couple of years, is we have a high turnover rate with service advisors. So that's a problem we have in the business. We're never going to fix that problem on this phone call or any other phone call. That's just a problem we have. Service advisors on a lot of dealerships is literally like a revolving door. It keeps Larry, driving those Ferraris that he has in his garage because he's always finding new service advisors. But the beautiful thing about a menu selling is this. If everybody's using the same menu and that customer comes back a month later and that service advisor we've been working with is no longer there, the next service advisor can easily pick up from where they were because everything was on menu and it's all documented. oh, Ian, I noticed you were in 3 months ago and it said that you turned down the brake service. Well, now you're at this point with your brakes and you really should consider it. So the menu helps create some trust. So now when you're, and like what Andy was talking about is even if the service isn't due, you're telling them, okay, well, you've got about, this much left on your brakes, you got this much in your tires, you're going to be up for your 30,000 service. So maybe we'll see you in a couple of months because you're laying that groundwork. So when you lose that person, the next person can step in there and it's not like, hey, you need this, when you start making stuff up. The person's already been prepped by the previous person. So menu has a lot of value across the board, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, and for full disclosure, I had the opportunity to work years ago for a company that really pushes menus in a digital format in the drive. But more importantly, they had a digital process for the service writers. And it was funny because I literally had arguments with service advisors, but also with technicians. Like, yeah, I just like the piece of paper on the clipboard. Like, I don't really know what's happening after that. I just recommend and hope that happens. But what really got them to lean in was the fact that from a digital point of view, they could know that it was presented to the customer, because they weren't confident before that was even being presented. They were like, yeah, we fill out this form and nobody cares and nothing gets recommended. And then we move on to the next car. So a lot of it's also that transparency between the front and the back end, but more importantly, consistency with the customer. When I was doing training for, shockingly, a Mitsubishi dealership, and they were recommending what Mitsubishi thought should be done on the car, the customers had a higher take rate. They didn't have to sell as hard because it was like, it isn't me, this is what the manufacturer's saying. And then there was another case, which was kind of funny recently. I'd never been positioned this before in my life on a car I owned, but they positioned a service that made no logical sense. And I said, like, I'm not saying you shouldn't sell that. I'm just saying you should probably be able to answer questions. Like, you should probably be prepared that maybe someone isn't just going to give you money. And I thought that was hilarious. Just because they've been told to sell it, but they hadn't been told to actually justify it. Like something like fuel injection clean is another one where I've had people try and sell me, which I'm fine with, but why? And they were like crickets. It's just crickets at that point.
That's the big problem too, is they don't even know. A lot of service advisors we're finding they were baristas 2 weeks ago at Tim Hortons. They're what you're drinking, or they were cutting hair. It's not like the advisors we had 15 years ago that were pretty knowledge. They understood how a car works and injectors. So, that's what BG, we try to do a lot of training around what is a fuel service and why does brake fluid need to be changed. And so they can have confidence in offering those services to one of their family members, because it's just like anything. Everybody says, well, I'm not a salesperson. Everybody's a salesperson. The only question is, do you believe in your produdo
So do you think menus help there? Do you think menus help there? Like, at least they know consistently they're presenting a menu. You think that helps them in the training of the former barista hairstylist to sell, I don't know, something?
But if they don't know what's on that menu, they've never seen that food before at a restaurant. They don't know if it's good or bad because they've never tried it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times we'll do training and then we'll do a fuel service on an advisor's car so they could feel the responsiveness that comes back and the fuel mileage that comes back. So, getting people to believe in what they're selling is a huge part of it. And then you already mentioned really the accountability, paper, which still works great if it's implemented, but digital gives you that accountability, and we've seen that really help as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because I said to him, I said, this is a training opportunity for you. If someone says no, what are you going to say next? It's not that the no is a hard no. It's like, tell me why it's important to me. Like, it's great that you're trying to sell it. But it was interesting because I worked at the same Mitsubishi dealer, and they had a oil change for life program. And one of the service technicians one of the service writers had been there for a long time. The other one is new. And all he was selling was the free oil changes. I said, dude, that's not good job security. Like, there's no revenue here at all. Like, what part of this aren't you understanding?
It's interesting you say that, because we do how to present, but we also do objection training. What are the most common objections that you're likely to hear? What's funny is they don't actually hear a lot of those objections on the service drive, but now they're not afraid to offer the service or to show the menu, because if they were to get that objection, now they know how to handle it. And all of our survey feedback just say the level of confidence that comes up. So I can't stress to dealers enough that they need to have their training done by themselves, or like BG will do it for you if you have a BG program in your shop, but they've got to believe. And then to Peter's point, the turnover is brutal. So it's where, BG, we say we're your partner beyond products because we do so much training. So,
Yeah.
as a manager, allow our team to come in and basically have a free trainer come in, but you have to give our team or whoever you're working with the priority, saying this is important, this training is important, I need everybody there, I'm going to be holding you accountable, and that goes a mile. And then we can get everybody up to speed, but it's a constant turnover, like Peter said. So if you don't love training, good luck at getting good at menus or selling services or anything. It's just part of life.
Fantastic. So Karen, what do you think? Menu, not menu?
Oh, as I stated before, I believe presenting menus on the drive, first of all, it provides the best customer experience. And then, of course, that the best results for the dealership. There's no doubt. But I agree certainly with Andy and everyone. The real issue is advisor training.
Yeah.
So
That's, they need to be trained to really do their homework, to know who's coming in, and so they can be prepared to properly present whatever services that they recommend. And I think the other reason for menus is not every advisor is going to explain things the same way. So a menu standardizes that.
Yeah.
And someone mentioned like a digital MPI.
Yep.
So if the dealership is doing that, that advisor should have that customer's previous video inspection, know what was recommended, what was performed, and then any that were not performed should be discussed at this point as well.
fantastic.
And then the other thing I want to jump in on that is we live in a technology age, and one of the benefits, one of the things why I'm so glad Karen is on the call is because Karen basically is an expert in this area, but one of her new company is called Profit Keeper Pro, and she has the ability to look at all of this information. And when you're doing a digital menu and it's tracked, all the information is tracked, and you actually have as a dealer, if you're using the proper tools properly, you have the ability to go in and look at what your service advisors are doing. You can see where their strengths and their weaknesses are, and you can kind of, if you really care and you want this to grow, you can actually take this information that you now have available because you're using a menu, it's going into your system, and all of those points, did they offer this, did they offer that, can be checked, and then all of a sudden you can go back and say, look, okay, so Peter is horrible at selling front-end alignments. Well, let's get somebody in here to help train him on that. And they call Larry, they go to BG and they have somebody come in and train and help the service advisors improve. It's not because timing is also tough. You don't always have time to do a full training, but if you know that Peter's not good with one part of this, you can get someone in there to train him on that, or you can have your manager focus on that. So it gives you the ability to really focus and improve because menus tie all of this together. And the last piece I'm going to say about this is it's also important as a manager. I know we have a lot of managers on the show today. You really have to pay attention because I spent a lot of time last year working with a lot of Ford dealers across the country. And on a regular basis, I found that things were being marked that weren't being done. And I'm looking at this and I'm looking at repair orders, and you have a vehicle with 180,000 miles on it and they have no recommended service. How can you have a vehicle with 180,000 miles on it and you're doing an NPI and you're not finding anything wrong with it? But they had to check that little box because they didn't check the little box. They couldn't go on to the next screen. So you have to pay attention with what's going on, if you're really going to make this work for you.
100%. I mean, we were looking at it. It was the straight line check mark process for some of these techs, not to beat them up. But Larry, I know you don't do any training in car dealers, but we did have a comment from Roger Gutierrez who says, if you don't love training, good luck selling menus. So he wanted to thank everybody for their thoughts there. Larry, what's your opinion on training or not training in the service drive with menus?
Okay, a whole bunch of things. First of all, you've all mentioned trust. Isn't it an incredible opportunity, whether you're service or sales, since they basically come in, particularly with sales, not trusting us, isn't it an amazing opportunity to turn a negative into a positive where they think, wow, that was easier. Boy, they were nicer than I would thought I would be. The training is absolutely mandatory. But how about if we do a deeper dive into why we're training? A lot of times we throw things at people, but we don't explain what we're trying to accomplish and what both the carrot and the stick are. Hey, if you do this, it'll be easy to sell that, keep a record, and make the people relax with you. So I think even beyond training, we have to explain why we're training, what's the purpose, and what's the net effect we're trying to achieve. But to not have a menu, now you're winging it. And winging it doesn't work in a situation where there's so many variables and there's so many things that you can forget. Training on it, presenting it, documenting it, and as you've said, being able to go back to it is awesome. So once again, it's just a huge room for improvement, and just a really simple way to say, this is what we have, this is why you need it. Oh, I get it. You don't want to do that, that's fine, but let me just make some kind of suggestion. Karen, let's go back to, putting a quarter or a penny in the tire tread. Gosh, whatever you want to do is fine, but I just want to be, I would be concerned if I was driving around with my family with this. Just little simple things we can do, but it's like everything else. I'm going to quote the late, great Zig Ziglar. He said, training is like bathing. I recommend it daily because it doesn't last.
That's right.
Fantastic. So how do you get started? I mean, I know the dealers, some of them are doing the whip it method, some of them are doing the wing it method, some are doing step selling, some are working on some sort of thing from the manufacturer. I mean, how do they get started if they've never done it before? Why don't we start with Karen on that? How would you get started if you haven't done it?
Well, I think one of the things we've been discussing is training. And if you can make those advisors understand that the whole idea is to reduce resistance and build long-term trust and loyalty. And let them know you're trying to help them not only make more money, but just have a better experience at work with happier customers. So, but it just comes back to good training and giving them reasons that it's important.
Fair enough. I know, Andy, you guys don't do any training, but what's your thought on menu training? Like if the dealer, new BG client, existing BG client says, now I'm ready for the menu. How do I get started?
Yeah, there's several things they can do. And I would say, obviously, from BG standpoint is engage your BG rep. We're doing a class right now, training them on how to set up a menu, how to make sure your op codes are correct. There's different levels though. There's oil service menus, but then there's interval-based service menus, and then there's a VIN specific, which we have Smart VMA as our digital menu, where it actually looks at the VIN and says these services are due at this time. That's the best way you can go, and it's the best way to have the accountability of, did the service advisor actually offer the service? Were there declined services you can cover, like Karen said? If they come back in, all of that gets captured in the digital. So I know we're experts at it. So that's one way you can get started, is just truly give your BG rep the time to say, I want to understand how a successful menu can be set up in my store. And I always tell my reps too, we have 800 reps around the country. So it's tough to keep them all in line, as you can imagine. But, every store does not operate the same. The combination, there's no key to success. It's a combination. 7 or 8 of them are about the same for most dealerships, but there's 2 or 3 that you're going to have to tweak, whether it's paper menus, digital menus, the way you present, the way you train, the cadence of everything. So really, it's like that. Like I said earlier, our ethos really has been around, we're your partner beyond products. So let us come in and do the consulting work to help you set up the right menu for your store, the one that will actually be used and presented. And there's always a little pain in that first 30, 60 days to figure out, this is going to work, this isn't going to work. But just like all the trainers, we know that we have to be on the drive to see what's working, what's not. And if somebody's struggling with something, we're going to go spend extra time with that individual. because somebody said it, you can't always have the big training event. That's the easiest way to get started if you're a BG shop, is just to engage your rep.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was doing training for the digital company I work for, it was a big deal to go in there and actually train everyone soup to nuts. And sometimes we were just training the service writers. Sometimes we were training technicians as well. Sometimes it was simultaneous. And then if it was digital, which it was in our case, we had to also get the IT guys involved and troubleshoot it. So it was quite a big deal to get it all done. But once it was installed and working, it was a game changer. But also, as you know, Larry said, I mean, you also got to retrain as you have new members added, whether it be service writer or technician or whatever. So you're never done training. But if you have a process, and that process is a very good process. Obviously, it's not that hard to get people to adopt it. Plus, customers enjoy the consistency. If you're dealing with one service writer and then next week they're gone, then it's like, well, how's that go? Go ahead, Peter.
And Ian, go back to your question a little bit. How do you get started? It really goes back to two pieces of the puzzle. Number one is you have to have the information to know where they're at. Okay, so that's where you talk about the reporting and things like that, to see how the service advisors are doing. But if you want to get a menu and the menu selling to work in your dealership, my best recommendation is you have to make it beneficial to the service advisor. You need to be able to show him how he does this. He is going to make more money, because at the end of the day, all they're concerned with is making more money and having a better life. So you have to show them, look, you're currently here, okay? Because you're doing it, the shotgun approach, you're throwing stuff out there, you're really not tracking things, you're not really, but we're going to show you when you put in this menu system, you follow step 1, step 2, step 3, it's going to increase your closing ratio, it's going to bring in more business, and you're going to make more money. And if you start showing them that, and that's why I love the tracking board, you start doing these different things like this. So now they're seeing the results. And if you want them to stay engaged, and this is where most dealers drop the ball. I've seen it time and time again. They'll do it for a couple months, and they'll do it for a couple months. They'll have those meetings. They'll have the meetings where they talk about the people's success. And hey, look, Bob went from this to now he's doing this, and everybody's seeing everyone's success. And you get those leaderboards and the competition going. And then after 90 days, it's like it peters out, and they just stop doing it. And literally, boom, right back down. You have to have a consistency if you want that to be successful, because if you show them month in, month out how they're doing better, they're going to stay with you, number one, but they're going to be more successful. And that's what the goal is here.
Fantastic.
Peter, that's because we're talking about service, but we always need to talk about upper management, because inevitably, if you don't nurture people, but also hold them accountable, you're dead. Because I always talk about in my classes, two old guys run into each other, and one says to the other, man, you look awesome. What the hell have you been doing? I started going to the gym. I haven't felt this good in 10 years. Keep it up, man. You look beautiful. He sees him a month later. How's the gym going? I quit. It's what we do as human beings. We just stop. So to think that it's going to run on auto, real quick, and I'll get off this, Peter. We were in a really bad neighborhood. I had a Cadillac dealership in the worst neighborhood in New Jersey, Trent. Okay. And a guy pitched us on etches. Well, the great thing about the etch was, if the guy got his car stolen or totaled, he got $3,000, but he had to come back to our dealership. Boy, did we love that. And we made a couple bucks on it. And we sold more etches than anybody on the planet. Until one day I come in and they're not selling etches. If you don't stay on top of things, they fall apart.
Thanks for that. Russell.
I was going to add to that.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
It's funny how in fixed ops, it's allowed to do it for 2 months. And as Peter said, they stop. Imagine if that happened on the front end with F&I not presenting a menu. How would that go? So it comes back to the leadership, like Larry said. It's the owner, it's the fixed ops director, it's people in leadership saying, this is important. This is the process and the way we go to market and do business. And there has to be a commitment there. Otherwise, it's the same thing over and over. It's just, it blows me away, because I came from the variable side of the business. And so when I came to fixed ops, it just blew my mind how much training goes into the sales side that does not go into the fixed ops. And I still don't understand why that still happens today, but it's still very much an issue.
Fantastic. Now I got to play a word from our sponsor. So here we go.
Again, We've answered 41 million phone calls for dealers over the last 4 years with our AI platform. We've also handled over 150 million text messages. And so when you look at just those raw numbers, that's a 4-to-1, 3.5, 4-to-1 text to phone call. So I don't know. Here's what I can tell you though. I believe that the customer wants to be met where they are presently. If that is text, voice, video call, if they want to be engaged and engaged instantly.
I'm Vince Delmonico, General Sales Manager with Cruise Ford Lincoln. Larry Feldman came out and did one of our training courses. Absolutely incredible. I sat through the course myself. The engagement that our salespeople gained from it, the excitement that he brings, it was a new way of looking at things that we're already doing and how we can improve them. Love it. It's literally the best thing since sliced bread.
My name's Fareed Ahmed. I'm the founder and CEO of DSMA. So why should you use DSMA to sell your most valuable asset? The answer is very simple. It's our unparalleled approach to our clients' needs and satisfaction. Remember, DSMA, we're real people doing real deals.
Meta, Instagram, social, and your team is still waiting for ups like it's 1999. Let's be honest. Your market isn't watching TV commercials. They're double tapping and engaging with your competitors on social media posts. People are shopping these days for cars and servicing their vehicles in between watching cat videos. That's where we can help. Retail Resilient is the go-to authority for social selling in the car industry.
All right. And thanks for that. So, Russell, thanks for joining. I have a question for you. Menu or no menu? Tell us more about what you do too.
Wait, okay. Yeah, did you just bounce me in the middle of something?
No. You just joined. So tell us more about what you do since you joined a little late. I appreciate you coming in, but we've been talking about menus. So tell us more about what your opinion, menu or no menu.
Yeah, I think it all just really, it depends on who you're talking to and what kind of process they actually have. But what we got, there's so many different things that are wormholes I could go down with this. But one of the first things that are the problems that we solve is data, clean data on the fixed side that they don't get from their websites. As a matter of fact, how many people actually print coupons and take it to their local independent and exercise that, and you don't know who those people are. And so dealers are leaking thousands to tens of thousands of dollars potentially from their website, and they don't even know who those customers are. Totally unacceptable on the verbal side. But for whatever reason, haven't really paid much attention, probably because 80 to 85% of the general managers, whoever he or she is, grew up on the variable side, and they don't really get it or understand it. So we plug that hole. We know who those customers are. We serve it up immediately to the dealership because they don't have any data. The very best they could come up with is how many people came during the date range, maybe how long they were there, but beyond that, they don't know who they are. The only people they know are the ones that actually schedule service into the DMS, which unfortunately is 20%. So what about the other 80% in the funnel that attempt to or start to, and you don't know who they are until they actually go through that process, which is drain damage. So yeah, so we plug that hole and optimize and deliver a video experience that serves up the right content with the right message at the right time, engaging all those people regardless of their age, whether they're 18 or 80 years old. But menu selling could be really good. It's just a matter of how they're set up. It's just there's people that are pro and people that are against it. Both sides make a great case. It's just what's best for you and what's best ultimately for the customer. It needs to be done with a level of transparency. If they like you, they trust you, they believe you, they're going to buy from you. Let's start here. 33% of the population doesn't even know franchise dealers sell tires. Are you freaking kidding me? That's ridiculous. There's the biggest 7 out of 10 people that defected by the time we get to the end of the orange tree. That's where most of them occur. Yeah. Yeah, there's many contributing factors, but oil changes and tires. Okay. I mean, if they're set up right, it's the single largest purchase they're going to make during the warranty period. And if you flub it, you're done.
So menu, you're a fan of menu or you're not? What do you think?
I'm neutral.
You're neutral. Okay.
I'm a fan of both. It just depends on the circumstances and the process that they have. But you know what? More importantly, here's what I'm a fan of. I heard this from April Simmons. I thought it was like magic. If you don't know who April Simmons is. Every time I go to a doctor, every time I go to the dentist, there's always a what's next and when. They're always scheduling something with me for 3 or 4 months down the road. And we set up a tentative date. Things change. I get it. I understand. But why don't we start with something really simple that's really, really easy when you're finished with a customer. And if you're getting pushback on why they won't, maybe you've screwed up something during the active delivery process or the level of transparency. But if you can't at least get a what's next and when, we got a problem. Forget about all the other stuff. Do you agree or not?
I agree. I mean, dentists are probably some of the best people out there on scheduling another appointment, and people really dislike dentists. Like I can't think of too many people who say, yeah, I really want to sign up for another teeth cleaning or another drilling session. Nobody really wants that, but they're real good at setting it up.
But see, we know, just like we know in automotive, maintenance, simple maintenance like that is a hell of a lot less money than major reconstruction of your mouth.
Oh,
Same thing with automobiles, right?
Yeah.
Routine maintenance costs a hell of a lot less than major repairs.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. So should menu selling be used online and by the dealers, or should AI book the appointments? What do you think, Karen?
Well, I incorporated menus from eMenus into my last company, timehighway.com. And I think the dealerships found it very successful. The recommended menu would display, when the customer entered their mileage. And even if the customer did not choose, let's say the 30K service, when they came in, as long as the advisor presented the same menu, I think the likelihood of acceptance was much greater.
I would agree with that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think consistency is key there, but also to Russell's point, I mean, if you have the ability to book that next appointment, at least you're dealing with that potential challenge up front. I mean, obviously, Andy, you guys train a lot of people. Do you have any opinions on the dental or doctor practice of booking the next one? What do you think?
Yeah, we teach that in our class as well, to book that next appointment. The dentist is a great analogy, and to your point, nobody really wants to do the dentist appointment, but they do want their teeth to be healthy. So it's just something you do, and I think you could make the same case. It's easy to say, it's easy to understand in the classroom, and it's much harder to implement in the real world to get people to do that, especially with the level of turnover that we've talked about. But I do like the idea of, if somebody books an appointment, that they're presented with a 30K or whatever that might be. And to Karen's point, if they come in and they're presented the same thing, that consistency we talked about earlier starts to build the familiarity, starts to build the trust, which also brings the openness to accepting that menu. I think dealers just need to be careful not to overstuff their menus. Sometimes they get excited and greedy and they just start packing everything in there, and nothing's going to drive me or most customers away of just hitting me with $1,800 every time I come in for an oil change.
Yeah,
I'm not coming back. So I try to keep that in mind as everybody loves to sell, and but they've got to do it in an honest and ethical way. And there's certain things that can be presented up front in a 30K or 60K, but to me, there's no better way of producing trust by the evidence-based selling of a proper MPI. So we do train a lot around a multi-point inspection. This is what the car is telling us, just like your teeth or your doctor. This is what your body's telling us that you need, and here is why, and here's the evidence. And then we can have a discussion about moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. If someone declined the RO and then it shows up the next visit and says, "Oh yeah, just to review what you should have done last time, let's talk about that again. At least that way it isn't like they forgot about it, right? You had a comment, Karen? Go ahead.
I did. And basically, I think what he was talking about, inflating the services. The menu that should be presented to the customer is exactly the menu they would see online. If they went to the manufacturer's website and put in their vehicle and saw, here's the recommended services for this mileage, that's exactly what should be presented to them at the dealership. If you want to build trust and confidence, otherwise, you're going to lose it.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I remember years ago when I was training finance managers and they were adapting from step selling to menu selling. They were shocked that people bought more off a menu because it was set up logically versus I sell this and then I sell that and then I try and sell this. And it was chaos comparatively. And they had no idea what was going to happen when they tried to add stuff. Larry, what's your thought? Oh, go ahead, Peter.
Jumping on the trust thing for a second. One of the things that I always liked and I always recommended is, if you're going to do that and you do the walk around and you give them something, okay, they give you the report on the vehicle. A lot of times what I always like to do is staple that to the receipt or just put it in their glove box, because now they have it. And from time to time, they'll look back and say, wait a second, did they tell me that? It just gives that little bit of trust factor. Now they can go back and go, because people don't have a good memory. What did he tell me last time? What was that said? Oh, here it is right here. Oh, he said, okay, I'm probably going to need a brake job, in the next 4,000 or 5,000 miles, whatever, or I'm going to need some tires, whatever it is. Because when you do what you're talking about, when you tell somebody, hey, you know what, you don't need it today, because wait a second, he's not trying to sell me something. He's not trying to jam it down my throat. You don't need it today, but you know what? Maybe on your next service. And while you're at that, can we go ahead and schedule that service for you? Get you back in, and we talk about it there. It's just, you've got to kind of lay these pieces out to build that credibility and that trust. And I think that's what really is lacking. Because a lot of times too, and I'm not trying to defend them, but service advisors are also under an enormous amount of stress. They don't always have enough time. So that goes back to what we're talking about at a top level. You got to make sure they have the tools to do things properly so they can actually take the time to actually have this conversation with the customer and not be trying to rush through somebody because they've got another person they got to get to.
100%. Yeah. I mean, Larry, I don't know how much training you do on the service drive, but what's your opinion on these stacking menus? I guess would be the way to look at it.
Well, let's go back to your medical analogy.
Yeah.
If you go to urgent care, the hospital, or your doctor, they always ask the same damn question to start off with. Are you allergic to any medicines? Because something's fine for me, and it puts Peter in anaphylactic shock. If we ask more questions, if we actually appear to be listening, and I mean listening to understand rather than just to nod our head and get on to the next thing. I hate it when people say, well, I'm not a salesman, I'm a service guy. You said it earlier, Andy, everybody's a server. Everybody's selling something. But the more we build dialogue, the more we actually listen, it's easier, right? If the guy opens up a little bit about his family and where he travels and what he does on vacation, it's a little easier to discuss what he needs and how he needs it. Plus, you're showing that he cares. And I always say to people in sales training, it's not being cynical to find out and build friendship with your customers. If the people that feed your family aren't your friends, who the hell are your friends? So yeah, it still comes. I'm referencing my good and great friend Russell Hill, because I always use him as an example, whether I use his name or not. Russell went in, took his Genesis in, and the guy hit him with, "Do you have an appointment?" Not "How are you, sir? Have a pleasant day, nice tie," whatever it was. It still comes back to being human. Peter knows me, Ian knows me, and Russ knows me too well, but Andy and Karen, you just met me. My MO is I torture everybody. And when I'm done torturing them, they call up Ian and go, "I like that guy," because they see I care. And yet I've seen people that don't torture people, but you still want to punch them in the face because their attitude is, "You're a damn number, and why are you bothering me when I'm eating lunch?" So it comes back to the same thing. You want to keep your customers, act like they're important to you and make them know they're important.
100%. So where should dealers start? I mean, they decided a menu is a good idea. They got a process. They're doing some training. How do they get that rolling? Like, how do they, make sure that it's done 100% of the time? And if they change stuff,
Ian, I can answer this because I had a union shop at my store.
Okay.
You buy pizzas for everybody. You have a meeting with everybody. And you don't dare beat them up. You have a short meeting which explains, guys, you're doing fabulous. By the way, Karen, even if they're doing rotten. But I think I can help you make more money and keep our customers happy. You always start it with a positive. And I bet Andy will agree with me. One of the biggest problems at dealerships is too many meetings, and the meetings are too long. Everybody just tunes out. They don't even have to be looking at their iPhone. They're fantasizing and thinking about what's for lunch. So you start with the meeting. You're doing great. I think we can help you make more money. Here's a couple ideas. And then you break them down and you force feed it to them. I don't think you're going to do it in one meeting. I think everybody will agree with that. But I think if you don't get it started, we've talked about this a million times, me and Russell. If you have a meeting and there's 10 people in it and somebody says, let's do this, and everybody agrees, but nobody says, I'm going to do it, you're done. It never gets done.
Fantastic. Andy, what do you think on the meeting? Oh, go ahead, Karen.
That's great to kick it off, but you do need to have follow-up meetings to say, okay, how's it working for you? What kind of training do you need? What can I do to help, etc.
Judy, I couldn't agree with Karen. I couldn't agree with you more, but I'm just saying the problem is everybody talks a bunch of junk, and very rarely do I see things get done. What's wrong with pulling everybody together and saying, let's start it? Peter loves when I quote Confucius, because all I do for him is get him confused. Hardest part of the journey is the first step. Get the ball rolling, and then you can get to the other steps.
Fantastic. Andy, what do you think on starting with all this stuff?
Yeah, this applies to the customer experience, but it also applies to all of the staff. Is, Teddy Roosevelt has a famous quote of, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And you really need to apply that to your staff as well. And I know it's high turnover, but if they think you're just trying to shove this program down their throats so that you can make more money, even if you position it as, hey, this will make you more money, Mr. or Mrs. Advisor, people see right through that, right? So you do have to look at your culture. You do have to have a culture of caring about your employees and a culture of caring about your customer. And I think if you do those pieces, all of this, it's like Larry said, if you just ask more questions about what's going on in the customer's life, same thing with your staff, is what's going on in their lives. Show that you care. And if you show that you care, they're going to come on board with programs that are legitimate and that are there to benefit everybody in the chain. So that's the best way to get started. Is we said you got to have advisors believe in the service. You got to have your staff believe in your dealership, that they're in the right place. This is a good place to be. This place cares about people and the community, and we're doing things the right way.
Yeah, I mean, when I was doing that training with technicians and service writers, I mean, it was really for the technicians. It was I just want to make sure it's being presented. I know everything I present isn't going to be sold, but I just want to know every time it's being presented and you're holding the feet to the fire of that service writer who may not have done that in the past. And then on the service writer side, it's, give me the stuff that has to be sold, to Karen's point, manufacturer's recommended service, and then the nice to have. A lot of people buy this, they want to add this for this reason. So train them on, what they could sell. I mean, it's kind of like going back to the menu on a restaurant. It's like, yeah, they can sell those add-ons, but it's really, they want to sell consistently certain things. So from a point of view, you're getting started, you're moving, the boulder up the hill, you're training the people how to do it. And you're looking at menus as a way to get there. What do you think that in terms of the implementation that people, don't do correctly and why they fail? What do you think, Russell? I can go to Karen while you're thinking.
I was going to go down a wormhole. Yeah, let me hear it.
Karen, what do you think?
What was the question again?
Why, when they have everything lined up, they got the menu, they're full of, they got the pizza, they get the point. Why do you think they still fail with that? I mean, why do they think they still fail with the implementation?
It's just like, it's kind of like the guy that was working out and then quit. If you don't really require consistency.
Yep.
And follow up to be certain they're doing what you ask them to.
Yep.
Be certain that if they need additional training, they're getting it. Follow-up is important, no matter what you're doing or what they're doing, because it's just too easy to go back the way we used to do it. Just way too easy. That's their comfort level. And until they get really comfortable and see the value in presenting the menu every time, they're it's just too easy to go back to the old way. And one other thing that I think is really an underrated gold mine, and that is, and I know the advisors are super busy, they really are, but a quick call or text to the customer, even if it's not by the advisor, maybe the cashier or somebody, confirming that the customer is satisfied and reviewing perhaps some services that were not performed, and letting them know that you'll make a note of that in the record so they can follow up on it on their next visit. And I just think I don't think anyone's doing that, at least anyone that I've been involved with. And I just think it could be a real gold mine.
Yeah, I mean, I if someone was to call me in between visits and say, hey, we recommended you do that last time, obviously you've had some time between now and then. If they didn't book the next appointment, book the next appointment. But if it's something that really needs to be done, there's nothing to say you couldn't sell that in between appointment schedules, right?
Okay.
If you picked up the phone and called them, or sent a text message, to your point, or sent an email,
Right.
or all of the above, because we know
And really,
people's attention span is.
The idea of the text and call is just, you want to be certain the customer's satisfied with their service. And then, of course, you can move into the decline service.
Fantastic. Well, we're almost out of time, so we got time for a final comment from everybody. Let's start with Andy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm going to end with kind of on the topic we were just on is this might shock everybody on this call, but
I doubt it.
Believe it or not, a lot of advisors are not motivated by money. And, we talk a lot about money. We know the dealer cares about money, but I'm shocked how many people we run into that is not a motivator for them. It's a nice to have. So we teach a lot around the why. I think Larry mentioned the why we're doing something. Maybe they're putting a kid through college, the advisor. Maybe they want to buy a boat. Maybe they want to go on vacation. Maybe they want to do something special. So I find that if there's not a connection to the why we're doing this beyond, even if it's the right thing, it's just like, I'm glad I'm doing the right thing, but I'm just, human nature is to default, like Karen said, back to the old way. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is, if you want a successful program, the accountability is absolutely critical, as we all know. And I would just plug that, the BG team, we have 800 reps around the country. Empower them to help you hold your staff accountable, because we know managers are busy, fixed ops directors are very busy. We're a free resource to you. So if you'll just tap into the network and the knowledge that the BG team has, that is going to help you have a successful program. It's like having a free person there to help you implement what you say you want. So with that, I really appreciate you having me on.
Drop the mic. All right, Russell, what do you think?
I think it's all, I'm right in line, and it's all about the why, and people getting outside if you understand the motivation why, and it isn't, you're right, it isn't always about money. Sometimes it's a combination, whatever success looks like for them. A lot of people think it has to do with monetary, and it's not necessarily, but I think it's really important understanding that when you can get inside the why, that's going to fuel the excitement level and the passion, which is going to fuel the action, which is going to produce the results, right? Hence, you reap what you sow. That's the way it works. When they take their eye off the why and their motivation dwindles and drains, they're right back to where they were 3 days later. It takes a tremendous amount of getting outside your comfort zone, and that level of change, most people aren't willing to walk through that unless they have a mentor like Andy, like some of the stuff you're talking about. That's really important. That can be instrumental in changing not only what's going on with whoever he or she is in that moment, but it can change their life if it's done the right way. That's my experience. That's what happened to me. And my mentor many years ago. So you've heard this. He looked at me and he said, "Russell, are you willing to do things that other people are not willing to do, so you can have and become the things that most people will never have and never become?"
100%.
And I'll tell you what, human behavior is so predictable. I mean, you look at the last 30 or 60 days, and unless they're in touch with their why and they're really motivated, I know where they're going to be in the next 30 and 60 days, and so do all of you.
Fair enough. Karen, final thought?
Well, I just, like I said, I really believe in menus. I really believe in training. I really believe in impressing on the staff that what we're doing is best for the customer and letting them buy into that. So I appreciate your having me here today, and it's been very informative for me as well.
Thank you. Peter.
Well, first of all, I want to thank our guests for being on the show. Ian and I, I'm very blessed to have you guys be part of the show. I think anybody on this listening in walked away with some great information. The guests, you guys are phenomenal. Thank you so much. Some great information. But again, it goes back to a couple key things. Number one is care about your people. Take the time to be able to track things so you can help them grow, whatever their point of importance is in their life. That's important. And take the time and invest in them, because we need to kind of stop this revolving door. I know Larry needs a new Ferrari, but we need this revolving door needs to kind of shut down, and we keep the people longer. We take good care of our people. They're going to take care of our customers, and we're all going to grow and be happy.
Thanks. Larry, final thoughts?
Yep. Two things. One, act like every customer is the last one you'll ever have, and try to understand the immense amount of money each customer is worth to you. That what they bring in, who they refer, if they get family members in. If we have those two things in mind, we'll be happier, they'll be happier, and we'll be more successful.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed the new format. I'm just changing things up. Anyway, have a great day. Bye for now.
Change is good, Ian. Change is good.
Absolutely.
Nice to meet you, Karen and Andy.
Doing this next week for this next week.
Thank you for helping the industry get better today live.